Welcome to the 2014 debut edition of SVSU Red Alert, your weekly update on Saginaw Valley State University athletics. I'm your host, J.J. Boehm. The SVSU football team dropped their season opener to Indianapolis, but they did find a few bright spots. We'll review those with head coach Jim Collins. We'll also introduce you to the new defensive secondary coach on the football team, Jamal Brown, and we'll get an update on the men's soccer team with Cale Wasserman. That's all ahead on this edition of SVSU Red Alert. Welcome back to SVSU Red Alert. I'm J.J. Boehm, now joined by SVSU head football coach Jim Collins. And Coach, you never want to open the season with a loss, particularly before such a good home crowd, almost 8,000 strong. But I know that there were some bright spots when you went back and looked at the film of the 24-10 loss to Indianapolis.
Well, great point initially, JJ. We really appreciate it. It was a fantastic atmosphere. The crowd was electric. To see all the students up there making noise and being behind us, we feed off of that, so we really appreciate that. It was disappointing to lose that football game, no doubt. You prepare to win games, and we didn't do enough in order to win that game. But as you said, I think we saw a lot of positive things. I think, we played a lot of guys for the first time, starting their first football games, and saw enough positive things to know we can build off of those things that we saw, correct a lot of the mistakes, and move on and week in and week out become a better football team.
And it sounds like the issues with Keith Moore, the quarterback, who went down with, it looked like an injury, but really just was a severe case of leg cramps that is not something that should prevent him from coming back this week against Tiffin. Exactly.
And anyone that's had leg cramps, they're debilitating when they happen, and it's really tough in a situation where you can't go back in a locker room and take in a bunch of fluids and so forth to be able to come back in the game. So obviously that was a big play. We were starting to drive. We had just gotten a first down close to midfield, down by 7 when he went down with the leg cramps. But then again, that's not an excuse. We weren't able to finish that drive off. But I think we got some guys experience. I think there were some situations that a lot of those players had never been in, with pressure and big crowd and the lights, that I think they're going to be better prepared the next time it comes up. And it was the type of game where you're really disappointed at the finale of it, but then when you come back on Sunday and look at the film and see some of the things that happened during the game, you know you've got something to build on.
And staying with Keith Moore for a moment, I thought for his first game as a starting quarterback, did the important things right from the standpoint, didn't really make any mistakes. When he needed to throw the ball away, he threw the ball away. He seemed to make the right decisions in terms of whether to hand off, throw, run, those kinds of things. So I would think some building blocks in place there too.
Absolutely, and that's what we evaluated. We evaluated his opportunities with the football in his hands. Of those 7 first downs we had, he was involved in all of them, either as a runner or as a passer. Threw the touchdown pass, hit some big plays. When we had receivers open, he completed the passes. And when we didn't have receivers open, he did a great job of getting rid of the football, avoiding the sack, and also avoiding the turnover. So there's some positive things there. He just needs to keep working, keep preparing, and we're going to keep building things in our offense with what he does well.
The one big play he was able to get on offense, really the only big play for SVSU. Indy didn't have many big plays on offense either, really one big pass play each side, but you're able to find Andrew Dillon down the seam. And I think even after you've seen him, you're always surprised a little bit when you see how he's able to run away from people from the tight end position.
Exactly. I mean, we're talking about a 6'3", 245-pound man that has explosive speed and athleticism. And that was a play that we've seen many times in our offense, with a play-action fake and Andrew going down the middle, and Keith threw a perfect ball and hit him in stride. And from there, Andrew took off. And, their safety number 8 had the angle on him, but it took him a long time to catch him. And, fortunately for us, he was able to hang on to the football, get us the ball down inside the 5, and then we threw the touchdown pass to DeGraff and Reed after that.
And that was just a one-on-one matchup where DeGraff and Reed able to rip the football away from the defensive back, and that's what you're going to need down in the red zone.
Exactly, JJ. And those are the things we worked on and emphasized in the spring and in preseason. I think one of the missing things, we got so used to throwing the ball to a wide-open Jeff Janis down the field that we didn't really throw a lot of fades in the past. But knowing what we have in terms of our receivers' ability to go up and get the football, we've worked really hard on the type of throw you need to make down in that situation. And then our receivers obviously being contested but still going up and getting the football, and we did a great job of executing that.
And we knew it would be running back by committee. It was that on Saturday night. And again, probably a thing where there's a sprinkling of positives and some things that you know you need to go back and fine tune.
Well, the thing about the run game for us right now is we've got to do a better job of sustaining the run game. And there were times in there where I thought we had opportunities to get more than 3 and 4 yard gains. We didn't get it, and then you get put in a position where you've got to throw the football on third down. So it's going to be getting bigger chunks of yardage. I think Keith had our longest run from scrimmage, and it was only 14 yards. Alante Gardner, who was our leading rusher at tailback, had a 10-yard gain. We need bigger chunks more consistently, but I think we saw some good things, and Indy had a good defense. Don't get me wrong. I thought they did a great job against the run. They did that last year really well. But I think our goal is to have a little bit bigger plays in the run game.
Switching to the other side of the ball on defense, really, I thought they kept SVSU right in the football game, and when you look at it, you certainly don't like the kickoff return for a touchdown, but when you're evaluating the defense, you really can't count that against them.
No, absolutely not. And I think when you go back and evaluate, there were a lot of key third downs that we prevented. I think they were about the same as us in third down conversions, but I thought we did a good job in third and short defensively. And then the other area was I thought they rose to the challenge after we had the 2 turnovers in the second half in the fourth quarter and gave them good field position with both those turnovers. Our defense was able to get on the field and go 3 and out both times, which was great to see. So I think they responded well. The other key thing was we saw only one football go deep and make a big play. I thought we did a great job preventing big plays, one of the things that we emphasized. And I think our defense, it's a new scheme. That was the first time to do it live in a real game. We're only going to get better as they get more experience and more confidence in what we're doing.
And not a ton of pressure on the quarterback, but again, I think at least some of that has to be attributed to the fact that Indianapolis returns a very experienced offensive line.
Absolutely, and an experienced quarterback. Yeah, their quarterback was a first-team All-Conference player last year, and then with their offensive line, they've got 10 guys on their roster that had game experience last year on that offensive line, including all 5 starters. So it was an experienced group, a well-prepared group. I thought there were times we pushed the pocket into them and forced some bad throws, but did not get the type of pressure I think you have to get in order to really stop a good team like Indy.
And so how does your team now get ready for the next one as they evaluate this? Because coaches, you're used to evaluating all of this, but for guys who haven't had much college experience, I've got to think it's something now that they've got to get accustomed to, going in, breaking it down, seeing what they did well, seeing what they did poorly.
That's a great point, JJ, because I think when you've got young guys, their psyches are precious. Yeah, I mean, very delicate, and you don't want to put them in a situation where they think their mistakes either were totally the reason we lost the game or aren't correctable. So what you do is you go back in and watch the film, and what you find in all the experience I've had is, regardless of whether you win or lose, the video never looks as good as you think it's going to look, and it never looks as bad as you think it's going to look. And I think when we pulled that video up, we didn't make that many mistakes. There weren't that many breakdowns. We didn't have a bunch of penalties. There wasn't a lack of taking care of the football for the most part. So I think we saw enough good things to build on, and we pointed those things out. But we also spent a lot of time in the film room and then on the practice field making those corrections so that we get it right the next time.
And the next time for the Cardinals will be the Tiffin Dragons back at home this Saturday. We'll preview that one with Coach Collins a little bit later on. But when we come back, I'll be joined by SVSU defensive backs coach Jamal Brown. That's next on SVSU Red Alert.
This week, Spring Hill Suites Female Athlete of the Week is Stephanie Klug. Klug, a freshman on the SVSU women's soccer team, had an impressive weekend to kick off her career in Cardinal uniform. Klug scored her first career goal in the team's 2-0 victory over Indianapolis on Friday, the eventual game winner. She would continue the fine play on Sunday, adding a pair of assists in the Lady Cardinal 2-0 win over Bellarmine. The SVSU women's soccer team opens the home portion of the 2014 season on Wednesday with a 4 p.m. match against Delta College.
Welcome back to SVSU Red Alert. I'm JJ Boehm, joined by SVSU defensive backs coach Jamal Brown. And Jamal, welcome to the show and welcome to SVSU. I know you were here in time to work with the club during the spring and everything, but our first time having you on Red Alert. Welcome.
All right, thanks. Great to be here.
And you come to SVSU from Bowling Green, where you played and then also spent the last couple of years as a GA, right?
Correct.
And what was it that attracted you to the position at SVSU?
Well, first off, SVSU has a great tradition. That was one thing that, really attracted me to the position. The GLIAC conference is known as one of the better conferences in Division II. So, those two things, in addition to having the opportunity to work with a coach such as Coach Collins, who's had success throughout his career, and then also the new defensive coordinator, Ano Gonzaga, have a history with him and, know what he's about and know a little bit about his defense. And, just having all of those things made this opportunity, I thought, a great opportunity.
And now you come in and you get to coach the secondary at SVSU, and you stepped into a position with a lot of guys with game experience. So I'm sure a big part of your job initially was evaluating those guys and figuring out how they'd fit for the system you want to run.
Yeah, it's always an evaluation period. I tell my guys that all the time. I'm always evaluating to see what we can do better, see where we can improve on things. And overall, after the spring, I was impressed with what our guys were able to do. Going into the summer and even into fall camp, I was really impressed with not only the guys who had playing experience from last year, but also guys who didn't have a lot of playing experience, from last year. Those guys really stepped up, guys that we didn't really plan on depending on being in big roles for us, really made an effort to step up and go out and challenge those older guys for positions.
And you've got a mix of that then with younger guys and experienced guys playing back there for you. How did you think that they blended together week one against Indianapolis?
I thought we did pretty good. I thought overall we had a few minor mistakes, younger guys and older guys, but I think overall we did a pretty good job. I thought we had a solid day. I tell my guys there were a few things that we can correct, but overall I was impressed, but also I'm still critical of the things that we didn't do the way that we should have. So there's always things to improve on, but I thought we blended together. I thought we played together pretty well. Very few mental mistakes, which is one thing that we really emphasized throughout camp, is limiting those mental errors, and that puts you in better position to be successful each play.
And that's so important in the secondary, where one mental breakdown usually means, uh-oh, the ball's thrown behind me and there goes a touchdown. Right,
and you know what? We didn't have that happen on Saturday, so that was a great thing. Like I said, our guys were really locked in. They were really focused. They dialed in on their scouting reports throughout the week and their film study. And, overall, I think that showed up on Saturday.
What do you do now to get them ready for Tiffin? Because, again, you've got some guys with a lot of experience, but you've also got guys like Joe Shields, who was getting his first college start. What do you do to get them ready now for week two and apply those lessons you're trying to teach them?
Well, one thing that I did was, I focused on some of the things that we did really well this past Saturday, right? And then I also, took a look at things that we didn't do well, and I'm, making an emphasis, making it, stressing the importance of focusing on what we need to do to improve, and taking it day by day. It's a process, every day, every play, every snap, at practice in the game, it's a process. So I'm just really focusing on improving some of the things that we didn't do well, but also letting them know that hey, you did do some things good. So, keep building on that, but also there's some things that we need to work on.
Well, hopefully you can keep working on them as you get ready for Tiffin and throughout the season. Jamal, thanks for joining us.
All right, thanks for having me.
And when we come back, I'll be joined by SVSU men's soccer coach Cale Wasserman. That's next on SVSU Red Alert. Welcome back to SVSU Red Alert. I'm JJ Boehm, now joined by SVSU men's soccer coach Cale Wasserman. And Cale, I've got to think, tough for you to be any happier than you are right now. 2 games into the season, 2 big wins against regional opponents at home.
Yeah, we really challenged ourselves this year by having 2 quality opponents come in Lewis and Cedarville, who have been up for their conference championships the last 2 years, and to come out with 2 shutouts and get a couple great goals from some young guys and an upperclassman really helped us get a good start to the season.
Talk about what that was like for you, because again, you've got a squad now that is only 2 years removed from playing in the national championship game, and this is part of the path, I would think, to make sure that you get your team from the outset ready to try to compete at that level.
Yeah, the first weekend is so important. You only have limited opportunities to play in-region games that are outside of your conference. Last year we struggled in the opening weekend, and I think at the end of the day that's what set us apart from making it to the national tournament or not. And to get a good start gives us a little bit more of a position where we can now control our own destiny in the conference, and if we do well, perhaps put ourselves in a position to play in the national tournament again. So to get a good start like this, and especially the way we had to battle through some injuries and some adversity, getting them against 2 quality opponents really set the tone for us as we move into the GLIAC season this week.
And that'll open with Northwood on Friday. But sticking with those first 2 for a moment, 2 different games, at least from an outsider's perspective, where Lewis, you're able to get 2 relatively early goals and then try to protect a lead, and then Cedarville you win, I believe, in the second overtime.
Yeah, I think both games we came out with the right attitude, and we attacked intensely, and we sent numbers forward, and we possessed and combined at the same time, without leaving ourselves susceptible to counterattacks and prevent goals against. But we were lucky enough to convert on some chances early in the Lewis game, which made the second half a little more, not easier, but we were able to be a bit more conservative and just prevent goals and not have to attack as much. Where against Cedarville, we still wanted to go for the win and attack, and the goals weren't coming, even though we were getting chances, which always as a coach makes you nervous, because you never know in the game of soccer, one mistake can lead to a goal against. And our guys were pretty much mistake-free, and I believe against a quality Cedarville team only conceded 2 shots on goal in 107 minutes. With 3 minutes left in double overtime, we finally got the breakthrough, and we were playing a man down after, unfortunate, one of our guys got his 2nd yellow card. So to play a man down and to continue to get chances, and Craig Neal ended up setting the goal. I mean, he was probably the man of the match in the game, just all over the place, and senior local kid from Auburn area, and set up the goal. And a true freshman, Matt Lang, in 2 college games has 2 goals, so he can't be spoken for enough in his two first performances.
Yeah, you almost think of them like exhibition in that they're not part of the conference schedule, but they certainly do count, particularly, as you said, when they start evaluating where teams are going to get regionally ranked. But now you do move into the conference schedule, and you've got to play Northwood, a team that a few years ago, these were particularly chippy contests, but it seems as though it's still a heated rivalry, but there isn't so much of that baggage right now.
Yeah, we definitely had some heated games with them a couple years ago, which kind of spurned the whole rivalry term. But being a local geographical rival, it's been one of those games that's always been tight, even 10 years ago when I was a player here. So they know us very well. We know them very well. Both teams have a lot of new guys, though, so it's going to take a few minutes to everyone to get adjusted. But again, they're a team that didn't have the best season this year, but are one of those teams that on any given year, they can surprise you, and I'm sure that they've done a great job rebuilding. So we've got to be on our toes and ready to go. Right now we're just kind of focused on recovering and preparing for the next game, but we're excited, and we get to do it at home, which is always nice. We've had good success against them at home over the years, and hoping to replicate that this Friday.
And what are you looking for from your team now as you move into conference play? Because as you said, you're introducing some new personnel, and also at the same time, I'm sure, trying to reinforce the tradition of success that's been built in recent seasons.
Yeah, I think we've got some staples to our program, and the culture of our program is always surrounded by hard work. Everything we talk about, whether it's training, games, first minute of the game, middle of the game, end of the game, preseason, off-season, it's all revolves around hard work and working for your teammates. But when it comes to tactically, what we're looking for between the old guys and the new guys, not only a balance from them being able to play together, but a balance on the attacking side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. So We're a team that likes to possess and likes to get numbers forward, but you can't just attack all the time. There's going to be times when you don't have the ball, and if you don't get a goal scored on you and you can maintain an organized, mistake-free, disciplined defense, you put yourself in a good chance to compete to win every game, and that's always our first and foremost thing that we focus on tactically is no goals against. And the first weekend we were fortunate enough to execute that. We had Alexander Bouillanek from France. He's our new goalkeeper, freshman. Started his first 2 college games and got 2 shutouts in front of a very solid back line where we returned Michael Lamb, who was Defensive Player of the Year in the conference, Zach Cooney, who's a senior, and then 2 newer defenders, Alex Isevsky, who's our left back, and then Phil Strachan. Both those guys also had very good weekends and hoping to carry that forward into the rest of the season.
Well, we know you've got a lot of season still ahead of you, but it's off to a good start, and we wish you well. Cale Wasserman, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And when we come back, I'll be rejoined by SVSU football coach Jim Collins. That's next on SVSU Red Alert.
This week's Spring Hill Suites Male Athlete of the Week is Matthew Lang. Lang, a freshman on the SVSU men's soccer team, had a sensational opening weekend for the Cardinals. Lang scored a goal in the Cardinal 2-0 victory over number 15 Lewis on Thursday before notching the game winner with just 2:39 remaining in double overtime of the team's 1-0 victory over Cedarville. After going 2-0-0 against for the weekend, the Cards returned to action at home against rival Northwood University on Friday for a 3:30 p.m. match at Braddock Field. Matthew Lang, your Spring Hill Suites Male Athlete of the Week.
Welcome back to SVSU Red Alert. I'm JJ Boehm, rejoined by SVSU football coach Jim Collins. And Coach, we talked a lot about Indianapolis and what you learned from that. You've got a Tiffin team that is going to be coming into this one, I'm sure, stinging a little bit. They lost 45-10 to Walsh in week 1, and no football coach wants to start 0-2, so one of you is going to be in that position. I know you don't want it to be SVSU.
Well, exactly, JJ. We're stinging as well. So it's going to be 2 teams that are feeling the sting of that opening day loss. And, you know, as we focused on from day one, you know, this is about us and our football team preparing and doing everything it takes to win football games. And, you know, losing sight, you know, forgetting about what happened this past Saturday. It's not always easy, but I think you got to really turn the page on last Saturday, focus on making those corrections, and really focus on what's going to take to get better and doing the things it takes to win this weekend. I think our guys are excited to play. Obviously, whenever you lose a game, you just want to get that taste out of your mouth, so they're excited for the challenge. And I think Tiffin's going to come in here well prepared. The one thing you see on film from their football team is they're well prepared. Their schemes are sound. They've got a great coaching staff. And their players, I'm sure, are going to be hungry as well. So we've got to be able to match the intensity we had last week. We had great intensity coming out of that locker room, coming out in the second half. I thought we played with great effort and intensity. I thought the environment created that for us, but we had a lot of it on our own, self-created. And we've got to be able to maintain that energy and enthusiasm that you have in a week 1 game, but also make those corrections and come out better week 2.
And this is an interesting matchup from the standpoint, too. Tiffin, a team that hasn't been on SVSU's schedule the past few years because you've got so many teams in the GLIAC, you can't play everybody. So this is going to be a team, they're not familiar with your personnel, you're not familiar with their personnel.
Exactly. We haven't played Tiffin since 2009. So we've seen them on film through the years, but you never really get a great gauge just watching film. They played against Walsh last week, and hard to know how good Walsh is. They look like a good football team. So, you know, it's one of those things where there's some unknowns. And I think more than anything, once again, it's about us correcting those mistakes and executing our offense, our defense, our special teams.
What are some of the things that you are looking for that you think we can maybe do this a little bit better in week 2 than we did in week 1?
Well, one of the things I think from an offensive standpoint is we need more explosive plays. I mentioned it in the previous segment. We need more big plays. Now, whether you manufacture those plays with schemes, you know, more down the field throws or, you know, some different looks in terms of your passing schemes, or you just do a better job blocking and the backs do a better job of breaking tackles and create those big plays on their own. But I don't think we had enough explosive plays this past weekend. The other thing we have to do is we got to create turnovers. We have to create turnovers. So whether that's, once again, that's harder hits or making more athletic plays for the football, or it's more pressure. But we got to be able to win the turnover battle, and we didn't get any last week. And then obviously, we got to correct the things in the kicking game. Got to make sure we're more explosive in the kicking game. We're the team that's going to have the opportunity to make the big return and not allow the big return.
Well, some things to work on. I know you're looking forward to another great crowd this Saturday night, and hopefully a better outcome for the Cardinals this time around.
Absolutely. Thanks, JJ.
That's SVSU football coach Jim Collins. I'm JJ Boehm, and we thank you for watching SVSU Red Alert, your weekly update on Saginaw Valley State University athletics.